Big 12 Conference in hitting. He leads off. Then it's Carmichael, Bryce Madron, who has an 8-game hitting streak. Snyder, who leads the team in RBIs at the 4-hole. Then it's McKenzie, Pettis, Willits, Butler catching. And in center field, Jason Walk for head coach Skip Johnson. Oklahoma State defensively lines up like this. There are some changes tonight. Aiden Miola back in the lineup playing third base. Lane Forsythe at short. Avery Ortiz at second. Colin Brigham at first. Schubert in left. Earhart at center. Benj in right. Ian Doherty catching. And on the mound is left-hander Sam Garcia, who has posted 2 outstanding starts in his last 2 Friday night opportunities.
Well, you open the season, and then you have your home opener, and then you have Bedlam opener. And every time you play those games, it kind of takes on an element of pressure that makes a guy grow. And tonight, I think Sam Garcia is going to have a chance to grow. This will be the biggest game he's ever pitched.
Garcia's last 2 starts, those numbers, a 1-1 record, a tough loss at home against TCU 2 weeks ago tonight, a 0.64 ERA. 14 innings in those 2 starts, both 7-inning outings. Gave up only 5 hits, walked 4, and struck out 20.
Yeah, he's been a model of consistency. He epitomizes what you want in college baseball. He's going to give you 5 or 6, and then you got to keep an eye on him. If he keeps his pitch count down, he can go 7. If you want to stretch him to 8, you can. But why do that on Fridays? That's when your bullpen's the freshest. So again, this guy is fit the bill perfectly. I think their rotation's almost set to make their run towards Omaha.
Big crowd on hand for this first Bedlam matchup, as you would expect. Oklahoma got off to the red hot conference start.
In their heart, it was red hot.
It was.
Yeah, they had the perfect world running. I mean, that series with Central Florida, you bring a Florida team out here and put them in 45, 50-degree weather and beat them 3 times and send them home. And
started conference play 7-0. Swept UCF, as Tom mentioned, and TCU in Fort Worth.
That one was an eye catcher, sweeping TCU.
First pitch in there to Jackson Nicholas. Number 5 in the conference in hitting. You see a big shift as we take a look over to the right. Oklahoma State has 3 infielders on the right side. Try to give you a glimpse of that when we have a chance. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And your left-hander is going to run the ball naturally away from him. You just don't want him to hit the ball the other way. You want him to pull it.
Now you see players in motion as the shift changes with a 1 ball, 2 strike count. Still have the second baseman Ortiz.
Rover. He's the rover.
Yeah, he's a good 10 yards into the outfield. That's a called strike 3, and Garcia strikes out Nicholas to start the game.
Well, that tells you what the shift told you. He doesn't want to hit that pitch the other way. That's the only place they hit that pitch. So there's your analytic world. And Nicholas is a junior. They probably got him on film for about 100 at bats. So you kind of trust the shift a little bit.
Here's Easton Carmichael, and he looks at strike 1. Carmichael's second in the Big 12 in hitting in conference games, almost 500 in league action. There you see his overall numbers. Little bumpy last 4 games, one of his last 14 in the Lamar series, and also including the game at Wichita State Tuesday, and he has a 1 ball, 1 strike count.
In watching college baseball, Dave, you kind of look for guys that are maybe a little bit different in the way of being prospects. I thought this guy might have been one of the best freshman catchers in the country last year.
Two and 1 to Carmichael. 1 away here in the first. It's 2-2. And the count goes full to Carmichael.
And you watch Garcia through the night. When he misses, he throws tease pitches. He doesn't miss by much. And before you know it, you start swinging at stuff that's not strikes.
That's lined into right field, and that's a one-out single for Easton Carmichael.
And see, he didn't try to hit that pitch out of the park. He took the 3-2 pitch. He took the location of the pitch, and he went right with it. I mean, that's good hitting. Stayed inside the ball. There was no home run swing in that swing. That approach was get on base.
Well, this is a very good hitting Oklahoma team. Top 50 in the country, number 43 as a matter of fact, with a batting average of .303. Here's Bryce Madron, their hottest hitter. He has an 8-game hitting streak. It's 0-1. You know what's interesting, Tom? Oklahoma hits .304 against right-hand pitching and .303 against lefties. How about that?
Pretty good.
It
Pretty
is.
good balance.
That tells you something, doesn't it?
It does. And this is one of the reasons. This is a left-handed guy hitting in the 3-hole against the left-hand pitcher. And Madron has been able to hit. I mean, I've seen him since his senior year in high school. And you look up and I'm thinking, why is he still in school? But he can really hit. And I think that anybody that doesn't give this kid a chance at pro ball, you got to forget about that 5'11", 5'10". There's guys like that are playing in the big leagues. This guy can really hit.
One ball, one strike. That's hit high into shallow left. Schubert calls off Miola, and there's 2 away.
And Dave, I still can't figure out why the corners are so hard to play here when the ball's in the air. It's just as tough on the left side as it is the right side. And tonight we got the wind blowing straight out. And that ball right there, I mean, third baseman basically had to bail out. And left fielder had to run a long way to make a routine play. I mean, a pop-up.
So 2 away. In steps Michael Snyder, the transfer from Washington. Third in the Big 12 Conference at RBIs. In fact, last 16 games, he's driven in 22.
I'm kind of anxious to see whether having a left-hander on the mound is going to negate the running game for OU.
This is an Oklahoma team that leaves number 43 in the country in stolen bases. Of course, historically, they are a good base running team, a team that steals a lot of bases.
And believe it or not, both the assistant coaches, when they played, were good base runners. So it's only natural that their players learn how to run the bases properly.
Sooners stole 4 bases at Wichita State Tuesday night, as a matter of fact. 1-0 to Snyder with 2 out here in the first. That's blocked by Doherty, and the count's 2-0.
It'll be interesting, Dave, to see some of the new guys in this series. And this is one of them right here. See how they handle their first at bat. And always, when guys go to the mound, to see how they handle their first inning.
There goes the runner at first. The throw down to second is not in time. That's a stolen base for Carmichael, number 7.
Doherty threw the ball right on the nose. And he got a great jump. I mean, as soon as that foot came up from a lefty, he took off. And remember now, that's a catcher running.
So Carmichael now 7 of 9 on steals this season. And it's a 3-0 count to Snyder. 2 away here in the first. You know, and we talked about Oklahoma's consistent success stealing bases. Last year, number 26 in the country in steals. They were successful on 77% of their stolen base attempts. Number 12 in the country in 2022. Had the most stolen bases for an OU team in more than 30 years. As that pitch is in there to Snyder, it's 3-1. So that's part of the deal.
And I go back to 1977 when I came in here with Coach Ward. And they always had great athletes, and they ran and ran, and I mean we were always conscious of the running game. And it kind of has stayed with them for the years, over the years. And, of course, we developed that the power image of Oklahoma State, and it's kind of stuck around, too. That's a high strike. The reason the ball looks like it's up is because the catcher catches it in his mask. But that's a catcher that's working on being down low.
3-2 pitch. That's fouled away right side. You know, another part you talk about Oklahoma being so athletic. Think about the multi-sport baseball players that were key in their success. Kyler Murray, for example.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, there are others.
Yeah, the minors.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
You go back over the history of, well, of course, I go back a long way, but.
That's fouled away once again as Snyder stays alive. Count remains
and you
full.
know, Dave, I'd been part of rivalries when I came back here to coach, but when I first saw it, the Bedlam thing, I was like, this is really weird. I don't know if these people like each other. I mean, it's like
you think
it's a rivalry, but I think they don't like us. So I just had to like wear it for a while, and then I kind of got it. But you know what? My first summer, I took a summer job, and I had 2 of their players play for me.
That's grounded to third to Miola. Throw to first in time, and Oklahoma's retired in the first. The Sooners strand 1. And we're headed to the bottom of 1 in Stillwater. We're scoreless in Bedlam in Stillwater.
See, Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare home insurance options so you can get what you need without overpaying.
Yeah, we spent a lot on this kitchen.
Oh, yeah, really high-end stuff.
Sorry, that's our ghost.
Yeah, okay.
It's more annoying than anything.
Too bad there's mold behind the backsplash. Yep, there's mold.
Well then, let's see if we can save you some money with Progressive.
Guess how much I originally paid for this fireplace? $23. Materials and labor.
Just ignore him.
You got bamboozled.
Lay the foundation for your future while helping build Florida's tomorrow with a career in road and bridge construction. Dive into
A bit different than what we've seen in previous games. Carson Bench hitting leadoff for just the second time this year. Leads off Zach Earhart, who leads the conference in hitting in league games only in the 2-hole. Then it's Miola, Schubert, Donovan LaSalle back playing for the first time since the second weekend of the season. He will DH. Then it's Ortiz, Brigham, Forsythe, and Doherty for Cowboy head coach Josh Holliday, who's had great success in this Bedlam series against Oklahoma. Meanwhile, the Sooners defensively with McKenzie, Willits, Nicholas, and Snyder in the infield. Pettis, Walk, Madron in the outfield, Mudler behind the plate. An excellent defensive catcher, and on the mound is left-hander Braden Davis.
I would refer to Davis as a pitcher. One of those guys that can add and subtract to his fastball. The numbers, maybe a start or two early in the season weren't real good. And so now you look up and you say, why is a 5.56 ERA pitching on Friday night? Well, hey, when in doubt, pitch a left-hander. So you got a lefty on Friday night. And it probably sets up their bullpen really well. But you know what? You look up in the 5th or 6th and this guy's giving up a run or two. That's his job, and he's done a good job of that.
Well, he's had some quality starts. In fact, he combined with Reed Hensley for a no-hitter against TCU back on March the 22nd. In that particular game, Davis went 7 hitless innings, walked 2, struck out 12, part of the 9th no-hitter in OU baseball history. His last start, though, against Lamar was not one of his better ones, as Benj is behind in the count 0-2 against Lamar last Friday night. Gave up 9 runs, 8 earned, walked 5 on 7 hits in 4 innings. Lamar won that game and swept the series, and Benj strikes out on 3 pitches to start the Oklahoma State first.
And again, you see why he strikes people out. I mean, he added to this fastball right here. He got it up above that power loop that sits in there, and that's a pretty good hitter for Oklahoma State. Benj is one of those guys, you close your eyes, 3-4 years down the road, he's going to be wearing a big league uniform somewhere.
Here's Zach Earhart, who has feasted on lefties. He's hitting .524 against left-hand pitching. He's been hot in conference play against about every pitcher he's seen. He's hitting .556 in league action. That's tops in the conference. Hit a 2-run homer against Oral Roberts Tuesday night. That was in the first inning of that contest. And the count's 2-0 to Earhart.
Well, I'll tell you this. Last weekend, this kid was on fire. And You get 10 hits in a weekend, and you know what? Not one dribbler. I mean, there was 10 balls he squared up last weekend for base hits. That's one of the best weekends I can remember.
You know, and he was hitting just 167 through 10 games, Earhart. You know, and last year, battled some injuries, hit 239. It's 3-1 to Earhart. Of course, in 2022, Earhart was all freshman team of the Big 12, hit 332, had 23 multi-hit games. This year looking more like his freshman year. And the count's full.
And when you have All-American guys like Benj and Schubert, they get a lot of that preseason hype. This was the guy that I circled and said has to have that finishing year, that third year as a prospect, because he is a prospect. Maybe down the road, he gets moved back to second base. When he came in, he was an infielder. Goes to center field because of his athleticism. Now he's going to end up with, what, 300, 450 at-bats in college baseball. Of course, I'm not real sure, Dave, that 1,500 at-bats is still holding as far as the number to get guys ready for the big leagues.
So here's Aiden Miola, who's been out for 4 games. He's had a recurring hamstring issue. Playing third base tonight. Fouls the first pitch away.
I think Aiden just needs for the warm temperatures to settle in and stay in.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and there was some discussion, debate, if you will, about where Miola would play tonight when he came back into the lineup. Of course, the good news is he's played second, first, and third this year and plays all of them pretty well. He's at third this evening.
And it's not like you're trying to over-strategize. You're not trying to, you know, be the overly smart lineup maker. I mean, the injuries have forced all this moving around.
That's chopped foul, 1-2. Earhart at first after drawing a one-out walk. We're scoreless here in the bottom of the first.
It almost seems like every weekend somebody's coming back into the lineup that's been out for a couple weeks. All over the place, you know, and we got another one coming up 2 hitters from now.
You know, Oklahoma's had its own injuries. John Spikerman has been out since the TCU series. He is active tonight as a pinch runner. He could not hit, but I'm told that he could possibly pinch run. He's a terrific base stealer, good base runner. So he could be a part of the equation in the late innings.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea.
We'll see. And there's a look at another key piece. You see the name of Carter Frederick, who was really coming on.
Yeah, I think they lost them both on the same day.
Actually, Frederick was 2 days later. Miola pops that into shallow right. And Nicholas into the outfield records the second out.
Well, he made that one look easy, and it's not an easy play. I can promise you that. I think professionally speaking, prospect-wise, Spikerman might be their best prospect.
You think so?
I mean, you know, he's really athletic, and again, you throw that question at Skip, and he's like any other head coach. He's going to mention several guys.
Of course.
I think he did recognize the fact that we kind of had our finger on one guy, and of course, I like Carmichael as a catcher, and he's DHing tonight. So, what do they say? To each his own.
Schubert fouls that away. Nolan Schubert, one of the Cowboys who's been injured. Missed 12 games. Was injured in the Dallas Baptist game. Was able to come back in 3 weeks. And I'll be honest, Tom, when I heard about Schubert's injury, I did not think he could be back in 3 weeks. Did you?
It was like 3 weeks, could be 10 weeks. Could be out for the year.
And Schubert hammers that deep to right field. That's not even close. That's way out of here. 2-run homer for Nolan Schubert, number 5 of the year, and it's 2-0 Oklahoma State.
And this guy's been out of the lineup, and as you try to stabilize one, that's a stabilizer right there. And I'm not sure he's still on his game yet, Dave. I think he's still working himself back in. But, boy, the foot got down early, and here comes the barrel, and he got the whole ball. I gotta guesstimate that one. I'm gonna go 390. And he pulled a left-hand pitcher.
So the second home run in 3 games for Schubert. And here's Donovan LaSalle, who's in the Cowboy lineup for the first time since the second weekend of the season. Last played on February 25th against Oregon State.
I mean, he started 2 of the first 4 games.
Yes. That's a little number. Throw to first. Nice play by Braden Davis to hustle off the mound and help record the 3rd out. But Nolan Schubert with a 2-out, 2-run homer. Nolan Schubert with 2 out. It's given the Cowboys the early lead. It's been a good run for Skip Johnson at Oklahoma, of course, 2 years ago in the College World Series.
Yeah, that's when you've done it for like 6-7 years, you make it to Omaha. That tells you somebody made the right choice. And now the challenge is to get back. And then once you do that, David, you stamp yourself in as a guy. And we saw Oral Roberts do it last year, OU the year before. I mean, that tells you the caliber of baseball that's played within 200 miles of each other. And it's always been that way around. There's always been an Omaha club somewhere within 100 miles of Stillwater.
Anthony McKenzie, a transfer from Sam Houston State. He smokes that into center for a leadoff single. So the second hit for the Sooners tonight.
And the things that separate you as a starting pitcher, get the first guy out in every inning. Is that easy? Well, about as easy as getting the first pitch over the plate. So the first pitch goes over the plate and it goes into center field. So
fouled away by Kendall Pettis. It's interesting that you mentioned that, as we were talking to Josh Holliday yesterday about the fact that for the most part, Oklahoma State's pitchers, and really it's a collective effort, have been able to shut down the opponent's run game. Now, West Virginia did have success stealing bases against the Cowboys Sunday, but they did not steal a base in the Friday or Saturday games. And he said exactly what you said. It's about getting ahead in the count and getting the leadoff man out. If you do that, the chances of limiting the run game go way up.
And some of the best coaches that I ever worked for in my career, they want their 27 outs. They don't want to give up an out.
It's 0-2 to Pettis. Yeah, we were having that debate today, sort of the cat-mouse game.
Yeah.
Of, well, if you're facing a tough pitcher, do you want to give up an out by trying to run? Or do you feel like the opposite of that is, well, we'd better run because we're not going to string a bunch of hits together, right?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, I mean, you steal second base or you get thrown out. What's the biggest advantage? The biggest advantage is you get an out, or you get to second base without wasting a bunt.
Pettis strikes out, 1 away.
That ball's right down the middle. I mean, there's not even a debate. And we got one of the best college umpires in America behind the plate tonight.
Chris Koski behind the plate.
How fitting is that, this series? And, hey, you worry about how first-time pitchers handle this series. I've seen a lot of first-time umpires not deal with this series very well.
Oh, you see it in all sports. It's the value of having experienced umpires, referees.
Yes.
For those big games. That's why those guys are given those assignments. So the moment will not be too big for them.
No, and you're talking about the running game. You watch, now this is a left-hander, and left-handers don't normally pitch out of a slide step. But when he uses a slide step, you cannot maximize your lead, nor can you get a big jump. So you just you hope he doesn't make a mistake to the plate, to the hitter.
1-1 to Jackson Willits.
And this is one of the assistant coaches' son, and really good freshman-looking player. He's one of those kids with enormous potential. And sometimes, Dave, it's like, boy, you'd really like to see him get off to a good start. And he really hasn't done that. He's jumped his batting average about 20 points in the last couple of weeks. But when Dad's around, sometimes you try a little harder. Boy, that's dangerous.
Well, you know about that, don't you?
You bet.
Of course, his dad is Reggie Willits, who played in the big leagues and started Oklahoma.
And Reggie's been there and done that. And your son always knows that.
So how, as a father, do you manage that?
Well, you just kind of keep your fingers crossed that your kid's good. Because, you know, the nightmare would be to have to bench your son or not play your son. And, you know, you got to go home to that thing called mom.
Yeah.
And sometimes moms don't use real good rationale. But
Yeah, I was going
if
to
I had
ask
to
you
give a
that.
tip, I'd say don't coach your own kid unless he's good.
You think?
I just keep it right there. You can teach him in the backyard anything you want, but don't take it to the dugout unless he's good.
Yeah, you bench your son, probably sleeping on the couch. That's fouled away first base side into the stands, and it's 1-2.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. I made a move one night, and I went home. My wife never questioned anything, but she just waited for the right moment and said, Josh playing third base? What are you thinking? And I'm like, well, we got a kid named Buddy that's pretty good behind the plate. And I wanted to give Josh some time away from catching.
Did she approve? Or no?
It took a little longer than that to explain my rationale, because my rationale is different. I mean, I'm watching him every day, and if I've ever seen a guy play hard every day, it was Josh. I thought I could rest him. The time was right to break in the freshman catcher that could really catch.
Yeah.
And I'd have two really good players.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, it's like, why not develop? First thing I heard when I went to college was, you know, take your number one position for granted, but learn how to play what your backup position would be.
And Willits strikes out. Garcia has struck out 3, and there's 2 away here in the second.
And I've been a catcher my whole life, so I figured, well, where am I going to go? I didn't know where to go. Yeah, see, that ball is like, it's too good to take. It's up out of the zone, but a month from now, Willits will be a better hitter than he is now, because he's better now than he was a month ago. That's the, you know, you got to play freshmen. And nowadays, if you don't play him, you don't keep him. So I admire guys that are breaking in freshmen this year. And I'm glad COVID's out the door.
We're seeing a lot of it. Here's Scott Medler, by the way, 1-0. Here with 2 out in the second. Runner at first is McKenzie. He led the inning off with a single to center. Yeah, it's interesting to hear you talk about the dynamics of coaching a child and all the family things that come into play as a result. And I'm sure you would feel like, well, I can have a conversation with my wife and try to stage some of this before the season starts, but I doubt that would matter much until the first time something happens, and then all that probably doesn't matter.
I'll tell you this, Dave. Most baseball wives are special.
Sure they are.
And if there is a conversation that you need to have before you have it with the rest of your staff, have it with your wife. Because she'll kick out the kinks that you better not say that. Don't go there, you know. And coaching kids, it's delicate. And, you know, I look around all the time and I see it and I say, oh. And then somebody says, wasn't that great? I mean, Coach Gundy had to coach his own son as a quarterback. And yet, I guarantee you, if you could sit down with Mike and talk to him about it.
Throws it at Derek Doherty's throw to second. It's not in time as McKenzie's in there, and that's the second stolen base for the Sooners tonight. And for McKenzie, his 4th of the season. 2-2 with 2 out here in the second.
I'll just say this. It's kind of fun to have them around. But, boy, they got to really be good. They have to be good because there's big eyes all over it.
Yeah, it would just be so hard to sort of flip that switch between being the manager of the ball club, the head coach, if you will, and then being the dad. The decisions that come with both occupations, if you will. Garcia strikes out Mudler to end the second. He has struck out 4. Headed the second here at Stillwater. 2-0 Oklahoma State. Josh Holliday has had enormous success in this Bedlam rivalry. In fact, we'll be reviewing some of the biggest moments of Bedlam in Josh Holliday's career as a player and a coach on our Sunday telecast.
Yeah, when you look at this series over the years, I mean, I looked at it a couple nights ago, going back to 74, and I entered it in 77, 78, but, boy, there's been a lot of, OU dominance, then OSU dominance, then an evening out, and then
Ground ball by Avery Ortiz, and it's 1 pitch, 1 out here in the second.
And now you see why the shortstop, the freshman shortstop's that shortstop. He made a nice play look really, really easy.
So now it's Colin Briggerman. Had a big week last week. Briggerman hit .462 with a couple of home runs. Was 0 for 5 Tuesday against ORU. So he looks at ball 1.
And when he catches the ball, when Bruggeman hits the ball and squares it up, he can hit it out of the ballpark. So you put him down in there, he's hitting .250 against the left-hander. Okay, if he does catch one tonight, if he goes 1 for 4, strikes out 3 times, but that 1 for 4, the 1 leaves the park, it's worth it.
Two and 1 to Briggerman.
You can see the left-hander on left-hander thing. He's trying not to let him get his hands out. And again, this is another one of those lefties. The ball just kind of jumps out of his hand.
3 and 1 to Briggerman. We should point
that ball's coming out 92, 93. I mean, that's just an easy delivery. Almost looks like a left-handed batting practice. I mean, that's how smooth it is.
1 out here in the bottom of the second. 3 balls and 1 strike to Colin Briggerman. And the count is full. Should point out that the wind is blowing really more toward the left field corner tonight. It's out of the southeast, so it's blowing out, but not straight out to left as we typically see on a warm day here at O'Brien. That's a called strike 3, 2 away.
Yeah, that's a freezer right there. That came around him and froze him. He saw it in, and it just snaps on him, and it's over the plate. It's a good breaking ball. You can get up on the strike zone on that guy. I think he's probably in the 6'6" range.
Base is empty, 2 out for the Mississippi State transfer, Lane Forsythe. Tomorrow, a warm day here in Stillwater. The game time for tomorrow, by the way, has been moved up to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was originally scheduled for a 6 o'clock first pitch. There's a chance of thunderstorms tomorrow night. Wind will be blowing out tomorrow, probably more to straight left, so it could be an interesting afternoon here, game 2 of this series.
Bombs away.
And Forsythe lifts that foul into the stands right side. 2 balls and a strike.
So it'll probably be a 2-1 game.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as you think, well, this is going to be a home run derby, guys come out and pitch. Guys start to look for that easy pitch to loft, and they don't get it. Forsythe's been steady Eddie. I think he's been available for every game. I don't think he's missed a game. Maybe one. Somewhere in my mind, somebody played short one day, but...
Davis strikes out Forsythe. 3 strikeouts for the Oklahoma left-hander Braden Davis. Through 2. We'll head to the third now.
Like 20, which is, you know, it's interesting because at that pace he could be chasing Pete's record, but Big 12's got a lot of really good performers. You got a lot of guys that are pro prospects that are having good years, not great years.
That's lifted into right by Jason Walk, and he's the first out of the third.
I know the starting pitcher last night for BYU had a great start. You know, at Texas, not a real easy place to go into and pitch, but he went in there and he got BYU the first game of that series.
Top of the order now, and here's Nicholas. Struck out his first trip. So, bit of an odd question here. Do you think it's any more or less difficult for new teams coming into the Big 12 in baseball versus, let's say, football or men's basketball?
I would say that it's like 50-50 right now. I think the warmer schools like Houston are going to get acclimated a lot easier. The guy at Cincinnati, I'd like to talk to him about that next week.
Yeah.
You know, and BYU with, you know, all the distance. Boy, next year it gets really, really fun to watch when you got Arizona State coming in. This is going to be one heck of a baseball conference.
2-2 to Nicholas. Of course, with BYU, those series are Thursday, Friday, Saturday series to respect their religious beliefs and commitment to not playing on Sunday. And we will have them here at the ballpark in Stillwater later this month as the count is full to Nicholas.
I think what's going to happen eventually, Dave, is you got to be really careful where you play in February.
Nicholas strikes out for the second time, the fifth strikeout for Garcia, 2 away.
And you can see that Jackson looks like he's trying to take him deep right here, and it's a big swing. He didn't get it. And after seeing Sam Garcia pitch, this is 5-6 starts, you have to appreciate him more and more every time you see him. His stuff is good. His delivery is easy. Good. It's not one of those deliveries that has a lot of funk in it. And he has deception, which is really, really hard to describe. But you don't see the ball real early coming out of his hand. And his velocity's been good this year. I think we've had him up to 92. And he's pitching tonight at 90, 91.
Two and one to Carmichael.
His off-speed stuff's good. Sliders probably a little bit above average.
You know, and his numbers last year at High Point in the Big South Conference were not very good. Fouled away, 2-2. He was 1-8, had a 7.57 ERA. However, in 2022, first team All Big South, 5-4 record, 1.94 ERA.
So he's left-handed, and he needed to change the scenery. And if the transfer portal is good for anything, it was good for Sam Garcia.
Oh, sure.
And
fouled away.
I'm sure the NCAA would say, well, that's why we put it in there. And that's okay. You just got to regulate the number of times you jump in the portal.
Well, of course, the baseball dynamic different than the old football and basketball dynamic because of in the old days, the requirement to sit out if you transferred in football or basketball versus baseball and other sports.
And sitting out does you no good in any sport. I mean, I can see a high school guy as a football player needing that year to gain some weight and get stronger and not wanting to waste your freshman year. Redshirting I thought was all designed for football.
Called strike 3. And it's a 1-2-3 third inning. As Oklahoma State left-hander Sam Garcia has struck out 6 in Big 12 conference play, yet number 6 in the RPI. Doherty fouls that away, 0-1. You know, a little hidden gem. I was just looking at UCF's RPI sheet, part of their NCAA stat profile. Here's one thing that helps them that gets lost in all of those numbers. They had 3 games against teams below 160 in the RPI that were canceled. So the RPI basically is an indication of the quality of the teams you've played and the quality of the teams that you've beaten. In very simple terms, as Doherty shoots that into shallow left center. And the catch is made by Pettis, and there's one out here in the third. So, in fact, let's go ahead and show you the true definition of RPI. And this will help you understand what I was just talking about with UCF. Your winning percentage, D1, strength of schedule is 50%, opponent strength of schedule 25%. So that's where your opponent's quality comes into play. But see, that strength of schedule, not playing those 3 games that were below 160 in the RPI and one actually below 210. See, that helps that strength of schedule, and that's 50% of the formula. I hope that makes sense?
It does, and if you play one team that has a terrible year, it can affect your RPI for a couple of weeks.
Oh, big time. And, you know, Josh Holiday and I've talked about that, by the way, 2-0 to bench. We've discussed this over the years, and, you know, there are people out there now that basically I think you hire as consultants to help you put together a schedule that is RPI favorable as best you can. Of course, the problem is, and now with the portal, it's really a big deal. You have to schedule now a couple of years out, and a team that may look like a very attractive non-conference opponent that's won, let's say, a mid-major league, well, they may come 2 years later and not be very good at all. So you don't know what you're getting. So it's not a perfect art by any means.
And this is what we talked about this morning. Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, after this year, have no more 3-game series on their schedule. OU leaves and goes to the SEC. Would it not be wise to play each other to keep their strength of schedule and RPI up? Because that becomes a great midweek game.
Yes, and I think the plan is to play a single midweek game during the regular season. And Benj has drawn a 1-out walk here in the third.
And I know the purpose of scheduling early on. Sometimes you know you're going to have to break in a new lineup or a new pitching staff. So you want to play people early on that you're not going to get overmatched. And then you look up and you're decent. You think you've done good. You're 15-5. And a lot of the teams in the SEC have done that this year. Again, going into conference play, they wore some of those games early. You know, a lot of them went in with just average records, but they were breaking in new ball clubs. So now their conference will not allow their RPIs to go down because they have so many wins. And
right.
I mean, I like the strength of schedule. I like the RPI. I like strength of schedule more than RPI.
0-1 to Zach Earhart, who...
And they're best friends, right? I mean, they're like brother and sister, RPI and strength of schedule.
Oh, yes, they are. Earhart walked and scored on Nolan Schubert's 2-run homer in the first. That's the only scoring we've had so far. 2-0 Oklahoma State, bottom of the third. Benj at first with 1 out after drawing a walk. And that's nicely blocked by Mudler. And that keeps Benj at first. The count's 1-1. Of course, on the other hand, there is a lot of discussion in basketball circles about the Big 12 basketball RPI. And there's been all sorts of things. If you talk to people in other conferences, they will tell you, in their opinion, and I'm not sure they're right. That's nubbed out to the mound. Davis hustles off the mound, throws to first. Earhart's the second out as Benj moves to second. They will tell you that sort of the same thing goes on in the Big 12 basketball-wise, is all the teams beat up on each other, and so it's no longer the RPI in basketball, it's the net, and it becomes, for lack of a better description, a self-fulfilling prophecy, where they constantly play each other, beat each other. Are those numbers overly inflated? Now, I would say I watch the Big 12 every night from my chair and follow it as closely as anyone in my position. I would say that's not the case, but that's the type of debates you get into.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, okay, is this computer failing to create accurate information? I think for the most part, it's pretty accurate.
Well, that's a big monster business, the NCAA basketball tournament. And I think in baseball, where they used to have like, okay, where does it go after RPI? Well, it goes down to team ERA, team batting average. And then you have the human element. You have a committee sitting there, and that's what scared you. You know, what if that guy in the committee doesn't like you? And, you know, he gets a vote. He gets to say, well, I think the teams in the South are better than the teams in the Midwest. Boy, you want to get a good argument going.
That's ripped foul by Miola, 1-2.
So you always try to get somebody on that committee from every part of the country. And the committee guys were always treated really well.
Well, and I feel like historically, the NCAA has done a good job of really balancing out those committees. And Miola
got that pretty good.
Hits that into left, but right to Pettis. And the Cowboys are retired here in the third. A two-run homer by Nolan Schubert in the first is the only scoring so far. Two teams as a Division I head coach to the NCAA tournament. And it's one pitch, one out, as Madron flies out to center here to start the fourth. Very impressive resume for Steve Lutz, who worked for Matt Painter at Purdue and Greg McDermott at Creighton. Tremendous pedigree, and I think people here are very excited about him.
Yeah, he's got a good pitcher's body.
Yes, he does.
I don't know if that'll come into play, but
you could work with him.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like got some potential there. Lots of potential with the basketball program.
First pitch in there to Snyder.
One pitch, one out. One of the most feared hitters in OU's batting order. You know, got rid of him in one pitch.
It's lined into center. And Earhart makes a nice play. Quickly 2 away.
You got it good. Real good direct swing. Kind of Tommy hopped it. OU's got several different bat angles coming through their batting order. I mean, they're not into that heavy launch angle. And, you know, with Reggie coming out of pro baseball, I would imagine that, you know, it's like, let's get level, let's get quick, let's be on it, let's put it in play. And as much as they like to think that they're a small ball type program, I think sometimes you got to take the hitter for what he is.
It's 1-1 to Anthony McKenzie.
I think good contact, guys that collect a lot of hits are way more valuable than a guy that hits one out every now and then, hits 250 in college.
1-2. And the reality is, I think, Tom, Oklahoma State's team this year looks a little different than some of their more recent teams.
I don't think that Josh has been able to put his lineup on the field, except for maybe the first 2 games of the year, what his plan was. Now you have a guy like Wolford who was in the plan. He's out for, 4 to 6 weeks. So you just keep sitting around thinking, well, here comes another hole in the batting order. And the pitching has been good enough to keep you in every game. So you're 19-10. And you have to keep thinking they're only going to get better when they get guys back. So stay tuned. Knock on wood. Don't lose any of the arms in the process. Keep your pitching staff healthy.
That's grounded to short to Forsythe. And it's a 1-2-3 Oklahoma fourth. We'll go to the bottom of the fourth here in Stillwater. It's 2-0.
He hits the ball the other way out of the park. As easy as I've seen in a long time. And there's been some power guys come through here in the last 10 years. Might be the easiest swing. Smoke that.
Into the shift. And Nicholas from the outfield throws him out. 1 pitch, 1 out.
Well, even if you don't have a real big shift on, that's kind of like legal to putting 30 feet like that into the outfield. The big leaguers, they took that over shifting, and you got to have 2 guys on each side, but I think it's dangerous pitching into the strength of a guy like Schubert. And he proved that in the first inning. You go ahead and pitch him in.
0-1 to Donovan LaSalle. 0-2. LaSalle playing for the first time since late February. He's the Cowboy designated hitter this evening.
Hit the ball good right off the start. I was a little bit shocked early on that he DH'd right off the bat.
LaSalle, one of several freshmen who are taking key roles on this Cowboy baseball team. And one of two in the lineup tonight who hit consecutively. LaSalle the first to hit, and Ortiz will follow him. He's on deck. The count's now 2-2. It's a different dynamic, as you've said, college baseball this year.
It is, and it kind of reminds me of the way it used to be. I mean, the COVID thing was unheard of. Nobody ever dealt with anything like that. And the NCAA was very, very friendly with the athletes during that period.
And, you know, I think that was a good thing, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think some people have manipulated it a little bit. I mean, 7 years, Dave, no, I don't like that.
Right.
You know, I think that's crazy, but, you know, a couple injuries where you've already redshirted for the right reasons, and then all of a sudden you get a COVID, and you look up and the guy at home plate looks like your uncle. And, you know, you're trying to get him out thinking, hey, Uncle Joe, what are you doing here? A little tryout in the bullpen down there.
It's Carson Atwood you see tossing the football. So here's Xavier Ortiz with one out. Cowboys have drawn 3 walks.
The pitch count at 53. This is probably when you're at your best on the mound. And again, it's 2-0, so let's just assume your bullpens are going to come into play tonight.
LaSalle at first after drawing a walk. Ortiz chops that to second. Might be 2. Out at second. Throw to first. And it's a double play. We're through 4 in Stillwater. Oklahoma State with a 2-0 lead over Oklahoma. 2-0 Oklahoma State as we head to the top of the 5th. And when you take your leadoff man out of the lineup, it makes a difference. John Spikerman has been out since the second game of the TCU series on March the 16th. And you know, you see the numbers offensively. One of the top leadoff hitters in this part of the country, and when he's out, you feel it.
Yeah, I would say that Skip Johnson built his offense with the idea of having him either in a 1-hole or maybe the 3-hole. Then, boom, he's hurt. He's gone. Now the guy that comes in, I believe, is hitting in a 9-hole. And all of a sudden, that 310 team batting average drops, and the real effect is in the clubhouse. When your go-to guy is not playing, you got to be really careful, because you got to make other guys understand it's time for somebody else to step up.
That's ripped down the left field line by Pettis and into the corner for extra bases. Pettis into second with a leadoff double here in the 5th.
And if you got an older ball club, that thing can resonate. If you got young guys, there's a little bit of a panic. That pitch fit his swing perfectly.
So the 3rd hit for Oklahoma tonight. Jackson Willits will hit. Struck out his first at bat. I believe Oklahoma, if I did the math right, is 4-6 with Spikerman out of the lineup. So the overall record speaks to the challenge of being without your leadoff man.
And really, it's one of those years, Dave, where it's hard to really feel sorry for each other. You know, West Virginia hasn't had their best hitter hardly at all the whole season, Weatherholt. And that's a premium guy. That's a high pick.
0-2 to Willits.
So you watch West Virginia, you say, that's not a bad club. Well, how good would they be with Weatherholt? Well, you're going to find out pretty soon. I think I've heard he's just about ready to come back and start playing.
He just brings so many dynamics
He's
as
a
hitter.
premium hitter.
Anyway, has good speed.
Good player. Great kid. Good player, great kid. And there's several others. I mean, it seems to be the year of the injury. And, of course, that gives another guy a chance. It's just opportunity.
That's cued down the right field line, but it's slicing foul. So let me ask you this. So one thing that's happened, it's not at every school, but most schools, as sort of an adjustment after COVID, and things that have adjusted since then for various reasons, is that most universities start their second semester later. So now instead of, let's say, the 9th or 10th of January, it becomes like the 16th or 17th.
Yeah.
That's hard on baseball.
And nobody even recognized that. It never gets recognized. And Dave, major leaguers go to spring training. It takes 6 weeks before they start the big league season. College kids are playing, they're starting their season inside 4 weeks. And some of them think they're ready. Oh, you can run them and you can get their legs ready. But I mean, they don't get enough, they don't see the ball enough. They can take a lot of BP. You can't get them any at-bats. College baseball needs to shut it down in February. Start the 1st of March.
1-2 to Willits. Well, and again, and I don't have any research on how many schools, for example, in the Big 12 start later. Oklahoma State does. And if that's something that's common across the board, then it would make even more sense to start later.
I mean, every time we've talked to a coach this year, that's one of the first things that comes out of their mouth.
Yes.
And it's like, well, we weren't ready at the beginning. And then you start thinking, well, why weren't you? Well, you're not supposed to be coaching guys during a school break. They're supposed to be home. They come back on their own. They got to work out on their own.
Willits strikes out. That's a big strikeout for Garcias.
And this breaking ball right here, it doesn't just have run in it. It changed planes. So you see it up a little early and you start on it and it's not there late.
So Pettis unable to advance to third. One away. Here's Scott Butler, who struck out his first trip, and Garcia now has punched out 7 this evening.
Yeah, that's a pretty good pitch.
But it misses 1-0.
A couple umpires in the crowd tonight. They wanted that.
See Pettis at second. Leadoff double down the left field line. Started this inning. It's 1-1. You know, an example of, what we're talking about with the shortened window between the beginning of the second semester and the start of the season is Oklahoma State pitcher Gabe Davis. Started the year as the closer because they just didn't feel like they had a chance to get him really stretched out in the preseason. And as a result, did not feel like his pitch count was really anywhere near ready for a starting role until 2 weeks ago. And I'm sure there are countless other situations like that across the country.
Well, you would like to take a pitch count up steadily. Say maybe 10, 15 pitches.
Butler strikes out, 2 away.
About every 2 weeks. And then you get a guy to 75 to 100 pitches in 6 weeks. And you can't do that. Just can't do that.
Yeah.
You don't have time. College baseball, if you have 1 month, you should be getting you can get your pitchers up to about 40 pitches comfortably. Then you just start holding your breath. And in most cases, you're holding your breath because it's so darn cold. You're like, just don't get hurt tonight. Don't get hurt tonight.
That's hammered by Walk into the left field corner. Pettis around third. He'll score easily. It's a 2-out RBI double for Jason Walk. It's a 2-1 game.
Well, the reason it's a big hit, you're getting it out of the 9-hole. And sometimes, Dave, you don't like to mention it, but you know it's the 9-hole. It's not a guy that you prepare for.
But you know, he's come on lately. Now has a 7-game hitting streak. Hit about 300 in that run. So
Well, that's where you want to hide guys. You want
Sure.
to put them in a 9-hole. They're going to get good pitches to hit because if your leadoff guy, like Spikerman has been, your 9-hole guy is going to get pitches. You don't want Spikerman to have a chance to knock people in.
So it's 2-1, 2 away. And that's lifted high. Shallow left. Viola struggles but makes a play. Boy, the wind really altering that. But he records a third out to end the Oklahoma fifth. But a run, none. Meanwhile, the OU left-hander, Braden Davis, has allowed just 1 hit in 4 innings, walked 3, struck out 3. He'll face Colin Brigham to begin the bottom of the fifth, and first pitch in there for a strike. And Brigham rips that into right field, and that's a leadoff single here in the fifth.
He got it started a little bit early. He's got a little sweep in his swing, but he got it started early. The ball ran right into his barrel, and that's a pretty good confidence booster for him. Like I said earlier, when he hits it in leverage, he hits it out of the park. So when he hits 255, 260, and you're sitting there looking at him, just be patient with the strikeouts because the potential of the long ball's there. So a base hit right here to get him on and
Forsythe bunts that foul.
play a little small ball. You're down in the batting order. You want to get that run back.
That misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. A lot of quality pitching outings for Oklahoma State's pitching staff as of late. Of course, shutout Oral Roberts Tuesday night. Had a tough game Sunday at West Virginia, but the other 2 games were outstanding pitching performance. Games that Oklahoma State won. Same was true against TCU. 3 good pitching performances. The Sunday game was a little bit unusual. Had a rain delay that changed the pitching plans. The Cowboys got good relief pitching that day, and after losing a 1-0 game to the Frogs on Friday night, won the final 2 games of that set.
Yeah, I thought Tuesday night was electric. I'd never seen that many fastballs thrown that hard consistently. It was actually kind of cool, kind of chilly. Maybe a sign of guys getting comfortable with their roles. Not often in a college baseball game do you get a chance to see a guy hit 100 miles an hour.
Oklahoma State left-hander Ryan Muir did it Tuesday. Count is full
And
to
did it
Forsythe.
easy. And made it look easy. And again, he's been out for over a month, coming off Tommy John. You get him back at the right time. Hey, who doesn't want a left-hander that throws 100 mile an hour
Oh my gosh.
when you start the second half of your season?
Brigham singled to start the inning. He's at first, nobody out. And Forsythe draws a walk. It's first and second, nobody out.
There's your first signal right there. That's not healthy. And pitch count 65. I mean, still good. Still really good.
Davis has had some games in which His pitch count was fairly high, 106 pitches. In a terrific performance against West Virginia as he threw a combined no-hitter. Worked 7 innings to 106 pitches 2 weeks ago. No hits, 2 walks, 12 strikeouts. Of course, he combined with Reed Hensley for that no-hitter for Oklahoma. And he's had 2 other starts of 90-plus pitches. In fact, every start that he's made this year has been at least 67 pitches. That 67-pitch outing against Pittsburgh was a tough one for him. Went 2 innings, gave up 7 runs on 5 hits, walked 4, struck out 4. And tonight he's walked 4, and it looks like if you just sort of take a quick look at his starts this season, when he has struggled, walks have been an issue. There's a look at his numbers tonight.
And that's not real good right there, and yet he's been very effective. Sometimes left-handers get away with murder.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's just like, what do you want to hit? Well, you want to hit 88 mile an hour. Okay. So if you put a lefty and a righty after throwing 88, the right-hander you've seen all your life.
Yeah.
Left-handers you don't see all your life. So just that little oddity of being left-handed that gives you a fraction of an adjustment to make.
That's bunted by Doherty to third. Over to first goes McKenzie. The runners advance. Brigham into third. Forsythe to second with 1 out.
I mean, if he didn't have, a bad inning or 2 against Pitt and a bad inning or 2 against Lamar.
Yeah.
I mean, his ERA is probably under 1. And when you watch him on film, it's like, okay, he's a pedestrian left-hand pitcher. Then you watch him just go out here, and when he's ahead in the count, he looks like he's dominating. And again, he does the things you got to be able to do in college to win. He can add to his fastball. He throws strikes. But you could very easily walk right by him as a pro prospect.
So second and third, 1 out, Carson Bench. We go back to the top of the order with an RBI opportunity here.
I mean, that's 92, and, you creep up on 70 pitches. That's as good as he's thrown. I mean, that's as good a fastball as he had in the first inning.
Two 2-0 to Bench.
You got a base open right here. I mean, I'm not giving Bench anything here to hit.
Second and third, 1 out. It's 3-0.
Maybe one of the hardest things there is to do in pitching is pitch around a guy.
And they are going to go ahead and intentionally walk Bench. So the bases are loaded with 1 out, puts the double play in the equation. And Zach Earhart, who is leading the Big 12 Conference in hitting in league play, will step to the plate with the bases loaded and 1 out. And a 2-1 Oklahoma State lead. Here in the bottom of the 5th, 1 out.
Dave, have you ever thought about the phrase, don't give him anything good to hit? And then it's normally followed up by, and don't walk him. Kind of a...
Earhart falls that down the left field line into the corner for extra bases. Briggerman has scored. Right behind him is Forsythe. Here comes Bench to the plate. The throw to the plate is wide. That is a 3-run double by Zach Earhart and a 5-1 Oklahoma State lead in the 5th.
Well, there's your hot bat. And again, you pitch around a guy based on his credentials to get to a guy that's the hottest guy in the batting order, for a period of 2 weeks. And boy, he made him pay for it. And for Ben to score all the way from first base, I mean, that just goes to show you that the athlete you got over there. And that's a big base hit.
Well, we spoke of this when he came up to the plate the first time. Zach Earhart has absolutely crushed left-hand pitching. Entered the game hitting .524 against lefties. Binge was walked, set it up for the Cowboys' hottest hitter. He delivers a 3-run double. Now it's a 5-1 game. Interesting.
Now you'd think that somebody would be for real in that bullpen down there.
It's 1-0 to Aiden Miola.
And I'm not second guessing putting Binge on. I mean, at 3-0,
Right.
all you're doing is you're trying not to give him anything to hit. That's a complicated statement. But pitching around a guy, that's an art.
You know, and the importance of lineup structure and matching guys up, as Josh Holliday talked to us about earlier in the week. You know, a team that can be really heavy with left-handed bats, but Earhart, who had been known primarily as a leadoff man, has hit cleanup. He's hitting second tonight. Boy, there goes a runner, and that's into left center. That's a base hit. Earhart running on the play will score easily. Now Miola headed towards second. He's in there. It's 6-1 Oklahoma State as Miola delivers.
Now, there you go. It's another guy that's been out of the batting order, and he's been swinging the bat like that for 2 months. And that's a big hit. Every hit right now saves somebody in the Oklahoma State bullpen later. So you don't stop. Don't coast. It's a good piece of hitting and shows you his hand strength, Dave. Just kind of went out and lifted it all the way to the warning track on the ground.
So still just one out. And Nolan Schubert, who hit a 2-run homer in the first, will hit. That was scored a double for Miola.
And neither guy in the bullpen right now looks like they're anxious or in a hurry to get ready. So you're trying to get 5 innings out of your starter here, and Davis may have to wear this one.
It's 0-2. So let me ask you this. You're talking about Davis wearing this one. Do the dynamics change in terms of how you use your bullpen when you're playing a day game at 2 o'clock tomorrow instead of a night game?
Absolutely. I mean, your bullpen late tonight, you'd be lucky you're not seeing them again tomorrow. So it makes you have to use 2 bullpens.
It makes a big difference then.
Well, and Dave, that's why you never try to stop scoring, because why would you use those 7, 8, 9 guys? There's no coverage. You don't have to cover a spread in baseball. You got to win. But here, you're trying to win a 3-game series. I guess what I'm saying is, yeah, use one of your good late inning guys tonight. Get this thing in the right column. It gives you a chance to win again tomorrow. Then boom,
Yes.
come Sunday, you got a chance to take over the conference.
2-2 to Schubert, and he strikes out. 2 away.
I mean, once you win game 1, you stay focused on game 2. But your thoughts are always on, I got to sweep this series. That's a quality pitch. He gets it down and away from him. And he doesn't seem to be bothered by anything. I mean, he just keeps throwing what they're calling.
One and 0 to Donovan LaSalle. Yeah, that 4 hours difference between start times, very significant. Again, tomorrow's game has been moved up to 2 o'clock because of the chance of thunderstorms tomorrow night. It was originally scheduled for a 6 o'clock start. 4 runs home in this inning for Oklahoma State, and it's 2-0 to the freshman LaSalle. A 3-run double by Zach Earhart with the bases loaded. And then an RBI double by Miola brought Earhart home, and that's where we stand.
Now, you'd like to get this guy rolling again. Give you another right-hand bat. You have to wonder, Dave. This is a freshman that hadn't played in how long? 6 weeks?
Yes, roughly.
Thanks, Coach. Put me back in the lineup tonight, Friday night, in front of 6,000 people. And
Bedlam. Yeah.
First place team in the conference.
2 balls and a strike to LaSalle. I'll go back to what your coach, I think at Miami, I'm paraphrasing and changing the story a little bit, but you don't know how they'll handle the pressure unless you put them in under pressure.
That's right. Never forget that night, ever. Because I was mixed up for about 6 hours. Not six innings. I just sat there like...
Sal chops that to third to McKenzie. And it's a bad throw.
Oh, boy.
And LaSalle is safe at first. Viola is at third now with 2 away. So defense, which has been a problem for both teams, rears its head here with 2 out in the 5th.
Well, this is as close to a routine play as you can get. That's a big one-hopper, friendly. I think somewhere in his mind, the guy from second's coming at him. Then that sailor to first base.
Yeah, errors were really a huge storyline last weekend when Lamar swept Oklahoma. That sent shockwaves through the Big 12 when that occurred, and a big part of that was the fact that Oklahoma made 8 errors in those 3 games, made 4 in the first game Friday night.
Yeah, that's a bunch.
And Oklahoma State's had its issues as well. It's 0-1 to Avery Ortiz. First and third, 2 out, 4 runs home here in the 5th. It's a 6-1 Oklahoma State lead.
Davis is up to 86, so we've had a 30-pitch inning. And boy, they're hard to overcome in the middle of the game. Still firm. I mean, the fastball's still good. The location on it is not good. It looks a little arm weary right now. And I mean, this is a perfect night to pitch. The weather couldn't be any better.
Yeah, game time temperature was right around 80 degrees, I think 81. It'll be a little bit cooler tomorrow and perhaps just a touch windier, with a slight chance of thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. Sunday should be gorgeous, mid-70s. No threat of rain. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Ortiz. First and third, 2 out.
I sure like the look on his face as a pitcher. He's still chasing his business right now. He's not showing, ground ball. Kind of makes you bleed a little bit. Should be in the dugout.
Called strike 3, and that ends the Oklahoma State 5th. But the Cowboys score 4. A 3-run double by 8 strikeouts, no walks. He'll face the 2, 3, and 4 hitters in the Oklahoma order. Carmichael, Madron, and Snyder here in the top of the 6th.
Now this is where you ignore that 4 spot that just went up on the board. Put a 0 up right here. Force them into a pitching change. You've done your job as a starter. You've given them 6. The bullpen's been really good. And, they're kind of rested coming into tonight.
One and 1 to Carmichael.
And if you want to put the icing on the cake, see if you can get this one +1. Try to go 7.
Well, that's exactly what Garcia has done in his last 2 starts. Very good starts.
And on the other side of the field, Dave, OU needs to score a run right here. They got to knock that momentum thing right in the mouth. Stay in the game here. Get within 4. Score a run.
Well, and I would think, as we've sort of talked about from a pitching standpoint, that with the quicker turnaround, day game tomorrow, which usually is not the case for Friday, Saturday here in Stillwater. That's down the right field line. Benj going back to the track, and it's gone. Solo home run for Easton Carmichael, his 3rd of the year. It's a 6-2 game.
Strong hands. He gets it up in the air, and that's not wind blown. I mean, in fact, the flag actually knocking that ball down a little bit. But he hit it about 325, 327 feet.
So now it's Bryce Madron. They have a shift for him. You know, we're talking about, though, that, just a quick turnaround as far as momentum goes. And going back to the bullpen point, try to keep this game competitive.
Okay, OU goes to the pen next inning. You just have to assume that, right? Well, you'd like to make Oklahoma State use some of their bullpen tonight, too. You walk out of here tonight and you get beat, and Oklahoma State doesn't even have to use their bullpen, and you've used some inning killers maybe. Do you let that 6 tell you don't go to your good side of your pen, go to a couple inning killing guys? I mean, that enters into the 3-game series. And I know the favorite line is 1 game at a time. Somebody is got to be making decisions about tomorrow, tonight.
That's deep to right. Binge on the warning track records the first out. So let me ask you this. So let's say it's a 2-run game, 3-run game. You're in the 7th, whatever, maybe the 6th. You're trying to figure out, okay, where do I go bullpen-wise? To what extent does the position of your batting order impact that? So let's say, for example, you're in a situation where you've got the middle of the order coming up in the 7th. They could likely come up again in the 9th. Versus a situation where it's, say, 7, 8, and 9 guys. Does that enter your mind in terms of thinking about how do I manage this situation?
Sure. And if you got 2 right-handers in the pen and you go to a right-hander, just make sure if you're trying to bring him back, say, Sunday, let him have 6, 7 hitters and then bring another righty. If that's the part of the order you think can do the damage, and flip-flop it. Try to have 2 left-handers.
1-1 to Snyder.
I think a good bullpen, Dave, is one that does have 2 closers and 2 setup guys. Because if you have a good ball club, you think you're in every game. You should be in every game. And, take a look at the scores. I don't know that Oklahoma State been punched out once or twice all year.
That's down the left field line into the corner for extra bases. Snyder into second with a 1-out double.
And, Oklahoma State's got somebody up in the pen right now. And, yeah, you've got to look and see where you go first. The breaking ball got a little soft. Sam kind of recoiled a little bit on that pitch. His body was going backward when his hand was going forward, so that makes the pitch back up. I mean, his pitch count, 90, that's a good night. It's that time of the season, Dave. You got to keep an eye out for dead arm. Guys that have been going, 75 to 100 pitches and acting like they're good, sooner or later they just hit a wall. They can't reach in there and get any extra fastball. So maybe it's a good night with a score as it is. Come in with somebody that can knock off 3 innings. How about that? Burn a guy tonight to kill this game, and don't go through the whole bullpen.
The numbers on Garcia tonight.
Very good. Over 2-1.
So here's Anthony McKenzie, who has singled and grounded out. Snyder's at second. OU has out-hit the Cowboys 6-4. The Cowboys have benefited from walks. Garcia has not walked a man so far tonight. 0-1 to McKenzie.
And that's a big point, Dave. He hasn't walked anybody. So they have 6 hits, but they got no walks.
And the Cowboys have drawn 5 walks.
Yeah, they've had to muster their own offense with a bat. No help with a walk. We haven't hit anybody either.
Fouled away right side. No balls, 2 strikes. Yeah, there's just so much that comes into the decision-making of how you manage those last innings. I mean, if you feel like you're sitting there in the dugout, you've got your big sticks coming up twice, you know what? Hey, maybe I'll go to one of my stronger bullpen arms thinking, right, that, hey, I got a chance to win this thing.
And your Tuesday night guys become a big factor on Sunday if you have to go too early tonight. So those guys that pitch Tuesday, they should be fresh again for you on Sunday, and that could be the case. I throw the kitchen sink this weekend. I take care of this weekend. Next Tuesday is no factor.
Called strike 3. McKenzie strikes out, and there's 2 away. That's a big strikeout for Garcia.
Yeah, he dropped it right down the corner. I mean, that's the beauty of having a curveball. You see it up, you see it out, and it drops in. And if you quit on it and you take the pitch improperly, you can't do anything late with it but watch it. If you can stay back and see the ball deep, see the ball late, you can foul that pitch off.
And we'll have a pitching change. So the night is through for Garcia, but a solid start for the Oklahoma State left-hander. He goes 5 2/3 innings. Leaves with a runner at second and 2 out here in the 6th. And we'll tell you about the new Cowboy pitcher when we return. 2 outs in the top of the 6th. 6-2 Oklahoma State over Oklahoma.
Extra inning tonight. Go shower. You're going to feel really good next Friday night.
The new pitcher for Oklahoma State is right-hander Robert Kranz, who has been outstanding out of the bullpen for Oklahoma State. In fact, Tom, he has not allowed an earned run in a month. Utah Tech back on March the 5th gave up an unearned run on March 10th against Mercer. And in his last, count 'em, 8 outings, has not surrendered a single run.
Well, those numbers tell you this guy could be your closer. I mean, there's a lot of people that would take those numbers and say, hey, is this the 9th inning? No, it's only the 6th. But he's a good shut-it-down kind of guy. Going to throw the ball in the low 90s. Going to throw strikes. And he's got a good power breaking ball.
Faces Kendall Pettis, who doubled and scored in the 5th. First pitch misses for ball 1.
And at developing this pitching staff, this guy's been in the bullpen since the season started. So Rob Walton picked him as one of his relievers. Then he's pitched his way into his role. You'd like to kill this inning with him and get one, okay? Then you're right back to where Sam Garcia would have been really happy with himself.
Snyder at second, 2 out. It's grounded to third to Miola. Throw to first. And out at first.
Oh, boy. And that's going to have to be looked at.
We'll see if this play is reviewed.
At the point of catch.
Yeah, Mike
Was
Morris
he on it? I mean,
yeah.
I'm looking at it from up here and I'm saying, he's off the bag.
Yeah, Mike Morris, it was interesting. He did not hesitate. Not a moment of hesitation. In fact, pointed to the bag to demonstrate that.
It's almost like he's trying to sell it to somebody.
So this play is under review. If the call is confirmed or it stands, the inning is over. If not, if it's reversed, it's first and third, 2 out here in the the top of the 6th. Oklahoma State up 6-2 on Oklahoma. So we'll hang around and see what the outcome is. Hopefully show you.
But he did catch it and have contact.
It is confirmed. Pettis is out.
Greg Cameron.
Absolutely magnificent. And one of the unique features is, as you sort of see the outfield now, you can walk around the entire ballpark and watch the game. The concourse is basically a part of the viewing area. Like today, during batting practice, I got a good walk in. I just kept walking around the ballpark just to get a good walk in, watch the guys hit.
Pick up a couple baseballs.
Yeah. So that's unique that way. So you can be in the line getting concessions and continue to watch the game. 1-0 to Brigham. And again, if you haven't been here, it has the feel of a miniature version of a major league ballpark. There is no other way to say it. It does.
When it has people like this in it, I agree with you 100%.
2-0 to Brigham. Singled and scored in that 4th inning. That's lined right at Willits, and there's 1 away.
And he stayed in front of that and nailed it. kind of a strange deal here. You know, you leave Davis in the game. And I understand. Sometimes you tell starters, hey, you want to be a starter? Here's your job. Do it. That was a really, really long, ugly fifth inning for him. But, you know, his numbers on the scoreboard never dropped. His velo stayed around 92. The expression on his face is the same. So he's giving you maybe what the script said. You know, you got to give me 6 or 7, or our bullpen will be empty by Sunday. So and we're still in a ball game at 6-2. This thing's not in the win column yet.
2-1 to Forsythe, who had a sacrifice. Correction, a walk in the 5th. Was trying to sacrifice. It's 3-1.
Well, that's his best fastball of the night.
And that's a 1-out walk, the second walk of the night drawn by Lane Forsythe. He's at first with 1 out. So now it's Ian Doherty. Six runs on 4 hits, no errors for Oklahoma State. 2 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for Oklahoma. The difference, the Sooners have walked 5 Cowboy hitters. Davis has walked 5. Cowboy pitchers have not surrendered a walk.
So of the 5 walks, how many of them have scored? I know 2 for sure showed in the mix of 4.
3.
Okay.
Throw to first. Forsythe is picked off.
Yeah, he got him by a bunch too.
So there's 2 away. And a 1-0 count to Doherty. So what happens there when that occurs? Is it's pretty unusual.
On the
pickoff.
Pickoff?
Yeah.
Well, left-handers, I mean, they get away with murder, but if you're a left-hander, you should develop that kind of move, that pickoff move. I mean, you make up your mind, I'm going to show him a bad move, then I'm going to come back and show him my really good move. Left-handers that do that, Dave, they stop the running game completely. And right there, it looked like Forsythe was trying to just get maybe another step. But it's a good time to run with him. I always wanted guys like this to make up your mind. You're not going to the plate. You're going to go to first base, show him a bad move, show him another bad move, then pick him off with a good move. But don't come set and say, I don't know, I think he's going no. Don't think. When you think, that's when you make a mistake with a pitch to the plate. Make up your mind before. I'm going to go get him. And then the heck with him. If he goes and still second on me, let him have it. But I don't want to get that mind crossed over where he's worrying about one and he gets burned with the other one.
And Doherty strikes out.
I'd say that's a big inning right there for OU.
Headed to the 7th.
In this part of the country. The weather is always a factor. We haven't really. We had early spring. It disappeared and became normal.
Willits hits that
see it.
Deep to right center. Earhart back to the track, and that's gone.
Maybe that's why I couldn't see it.
That's the first collegiate home run for Jackson Willits at 6-3.
Well, he hit it good. Went out right around 400 feet. So he probably hit it 410. Looks like he got something up. Yeah, oh, did he? That's where you put it on the tee when you want to work on your really good power swing. You put it on the tee right there, and that one showed up right there. And he hit it out there. I don't know what we got going on, but
Scott Butler has struck out twice. It's a 6-3 game here in the 7th. Nobody out.
well, that probably forces you back into using your entire must-win bullpen or go-to-win bullpen.
That's lined into left field, and that's down for a base hit.
Boy, did he get inside that ball. He sliced that thing. I watched a couple guys hit golf balls today. They should stay off the golf course. They're dangerous. But boy, he really sliced that.
So here's Jason Walk. He had an RBI double in the 5th. Fouled away, 0-1.
You don't want to give him anything, but you don't want to get complacent and just throw the ball right in the middle of the plate.
That home run, by the way, by Willits ended a run of 11 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings for Kranz out of the Cowboy bullpen.
And he hasn't thrown that real good, sharp breaking ball yet tonight.
That was the first home run surrendered by Kranz this year, as a matter of fact. That's popped up.
That's a good breaking ball.
A tall one in the infield. And Miola cannot come up with it. It's a foul ball. It dropped foul, so it's 0-2. That'll probably be an error on Miola.
I know everybody that coaches a team in baseball says, how did he drop that? Well, I'm going to tell you something about this ballpark. When you get past the extensions on both sides, where that wind can do what it wants, I mean, it has been that way since the stadium opened. And, of course, this is the home team, and you think, well, how's that happen? Just can't practice that enough.
Well, remember, Miola has not started at third this year. Played a lot of third last year.
He'd be the first guy to tell you, I'll never miss that again. But he hadn't been over there. And it's different because he's been on this side of the infield. So it's it comes to you on the right side. On the left side, it's kind of blown away from you. Now you just hope it doesn't end up in a base hit to where they get a rally and make a run at you.
No balls, 2 strikes. Willits led off the inning with a solo homer, and that's a called strike 3. There's one away.
Well, I don't know, but that ball right down the middle. Obviously guessing. Had to be looking for a breaking ball right there. Didn't get it. Now you got to get back on the roll again.
Back to the top of the order, and Jackson Nicklaus, 0 for 3 tonight, has struck out twice. That's in there.
Dave, I was under the impression that Jackson Nicklaus is related to, but he's not, is he?
He's not, no.
I think his first year in there, somebody told me he was, and I was thinking, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Jackson Nicklaus, as a matter of fact, from the Kansas City area, Overland Park, Kansas. That is Tom Watson territory, Kansas City.
Good area, good baseball area.
Well, speaking of that, sort of an unusual occurrence, I guess, in the eyes of baseball people earlier this week. And voters in Jackson County, the Kansas City area, voted against the new ballparks for the Chiefs and Royals. So we'll see where that leaves things in Kansas City. As Nicholas strikes out, there's 2 away.
Now this is a cutter, slider, stayed up, sometimes gets hit really hard. And Nicholas kind of sat back and spun on it a little bit. And there's a loop upstairs in that swing, and Cran's got the breaking ball through it. That's a little bit weird.
Easton Carmichael's 2 for 3. Solo homer in the 6th. 6-3 Oklahoma State, top of the 7th. 2-run homer by Nolan Schubert. Got things started for the Cowboys at the bottom of the 1st. Then Oklahoma State scored 4 in the 5th. That's ripped into right center. Earhart on his horse makes the play.
He knew he had that ball about halfway on his prance to the ball. That shows you he's
Good Kansas has been
Friday nights.
on Friday nights.
First game of the series, they're nails. Houston, Texas Tech, that's a good one. K-State, Central Florida. Central Florida at home, I think that's a big advantage. You know, you run down there to that heat and humidity. And BYU in Texas, boy, that was a good game last night. And I would think, you know, from the standpoint of Oklahoma State, everything going tonight, pretty good.
Top of the order due up for Oklahoma State. Braden Davis, the OU starter, back out there for the 7th. He's given up 6 runs on 4 hits, walked 6, struck out 6.
So, Dave, next year, the new guys coming into the league, are we still going to have one club off every weekend?
I can't answer that.
Because I can't keep track of the number of teams that are going to be in the league. I think, we had Utah.
Well, of course, Colorado doesn't play baseball.
They should.
1-1 to Bench. Bench has walked twice, scored in the 5th, struck out in the 1st. Oh, it'll be a fun baseball league.
Yeah, I'd like to see everybody in the league playing every weekend. You know, it's pretty hard to find a really good situation. Like, Bader's playing Incarnate Word tonight. I mean, Bader needs to be playing somebody good. I mean, big name, big RPI.
So,
keep the RPI up.
Well, I was going to say, so what's the balance there? Do you need to take a break and sort of catch your breath, or do you need to schedule up as if it's a conference series?
I think you schedule up.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not downgrading Incarnate Word. I'm
Right.
just saying, if you want to hold your RPI inside your league, then play inside your league. But it is tough. It's hard to find somebody open in April.
Sure.
Why would you want to have a weekend series in April open? That may be all that they could connect with.
Didn't mean to, and the count remains 2-2. Yes, you have to catch another conference that has a bye.
Exactly. And I think we're adding 4 more baseball schools next year. So I don't even know how many weeks you're going to have to get your team ready for conference.
Bench is hit by pitch.
And I think that Davis is arm weary right now. He's gutting it out for the club. As Velo's still, it's still decent. Doesn't look like he's out of gas, but this pitch right here, I mean, it was just out early, and sometimes there's signals that tell you, Coach, you can leave me in here. I'll give you what I got, but I'm done. And that's a done look right there.
And we'll have a pitching change. The Cowboys have benefited from 6 walks and now a hit batsman. 6-3 Oklahoma here in the bottom of the 7th. The night is over for Braden Davis, and the new OU pitcher is right-hander Carson Atwood.
Good numbers. Obviously, when you're in the bullpen, all it takes is 1 inning to shoot that ERA up. But 15 innings, strikeouts and walks, okay. We're almost at 3-1. Hits, a little bit high. good advantage tonight coming in on top of a left-hander that throws that little sweeper, and be able to come in here on top of the guy that's going to be another low 90s. Slider change. If the scoreboard stays in place, Dave, this guy only has to give you 5 outs.
Right.
A little bit easier to manufacture your bullpen tonight. I think Skip got maybe an inning plus out of the starter tonight that normally he doesn't let happen. But being the first game on a weekend like this, come off of a Tuesday night big win against Wichita State, there can't be a whole lot of bulls in that pen down there.
Earhart squares. Pitch misses. Throw down to first. Binge is back.
Man, 94 mile an hour. Looked like a cutter.
Earhart just 243 against right-handers. Approaching 550 against lefties, as he demonstrated earlier tonight with the 3-run double in the 5th. Big numbers for the Cowboys center fielder on the year. He's the top hitter in the Big 12 Conference, entering tonight in conference play. Binge at first after being hit by pitch. 2-1 to Earhart, who is a very good bunter.
This guy's throwing an 89, 90 mile an hour slider.
That's in there, 2-2.
And here's 92 on the fastball. This is a hitter that's maturing. Guy comes out of the bullpen, he takes a couple pitches, he sees him, feels good about his swing. Now he's just looking for a strike.
And Earhart strikes out, 1 away.
He fooled him. He's looking breaking ball right there, and he slips a fastball by him. And I'm not too sure that wasn't a cutter.
So 1 away for Aiden Miola. Binge at first. It's hit by pitch to start this inning. He takes off, got a great jump, and there'll be no throw. Binge into second safely with his 6th stolen base of the year. Got a huge jump on Atwood.
Big steal right here.
Well, and the reality is Mudler, one of the best catchers arguably in the country at throwing out base stealers. In fact, opponents, I believe, had been successful in just 12 of 22 stolen base attempts against him entering tonight.
Yeah, we talk about Binge all the time because we get to see him, but it's still your base, flawless in the outfield, plus arm, left-hand bat.
Yeah, just one of those guys, hey, what do you need me to do?
Yeah, and you know, as long as the tools stay healthy, you can go a lot of different directions with him. We had a guy named McLean here for the last 3 years, and Nolan did the same thing, just loaded with tools, could pitch, could hit with power, good defender. And I think right now he's still deciding
1-2 to Miola.
which way it's going to go.
Miola back in the lineup tonight after missing 4 games. He's been bothered off and on by a hamstring. And he shoots that into right. That ball carrying back to the warning track. And Adrian makes the catch. Over to third goes Binge with 2 out.
Yeah, it kind of looked good. He just didn't have enough top hand on that one to get it out of the yard. Plus, we still got a down breeze blowing. I mean, don't want to hang one in the air, right?
Okay, so what do you do here? You've got Schubert coming up, All-American last year, who's already hit a 2-run homer. And on deck is Donovan LaSalle, who's 0 for 2 and hasn't played since the end of February before going into the lineup tonight. So
Well,
do
the
you
way
walk,
you
do you walk
described
Schubert?
it, I would pitch around him. And again, if I get behind an account, I put him on.
They've already made the choice.
Yeah, there
They'll
you go.
walk him.
Yep.
And so Josh Holliday will counter with a pinch hitter.
Now, this makes sense. And
Oh,
again,
of course.
you're getting a guy back tonight for the first time. You got a couple of bats tonight, LaSalle, and that'll help get him ready for tomorrow. And you bring on a guy that has been a major spark plug.
So Colin Ritchie, another freshman, will pinch hit. And here's the interesting thing about Ritchie, and looks like OU will go to a left-hander. Ritchie is hitting .296 against lefties and .296 against righties.
That is weird. But you know what? He's been playing against both. You have him or Jackson Kroll, whichever one you want. So you keep Kroll so you can put him in the game defensively.
So a new pitcher for Oklahoma. We'll tell you about him when we return. 2 out, runners at first and third. 6-3 Oklahoma State in the 7th.
Being a kid with a physical difference can be hard. Thankfully, there's an amazing place that takes care of kids like us so we can still do the things we love to do.
And because they care so much, we've learned some cool things along the way.
Like how strong we can be and how showing someone you care can make a difference.
After all, being different is a good thing.
And we want to help other kids like us.
That's why they call us.
He's been there, 9 innings on the year, 9 hits, not real good. 12 strikeouts, 6 walks. That's okay. 482, that's okay. Situational guys, they have a lousy life.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's like if you make one mistake, you pay for it for about 5 appearances. You got to really string a bunch of innings, and you never get a chance to get a bunch of innings because you're a situational guy. So it's like you almost have to be perfect.
Cowboys have sent up a pinch hitter, Colin Ritchie, hitting for right-hand hitting Donovan LaSalle. Ritchie will face this left-hander with runners at first and third, 2 out in the bottom of the 7th, and a 6-3 Oklahoma State lead.
And right now in his mind, he's thinking, well, they just changed pitchers because he hits, lefties as well as he does righties, which is really good for a freshman to be able. You're just making the moment bigger. Well, it seems like we bumped into Wichita State guys on everybody's roster.
Well, I think they had a significant number of players who went in the portal.
Yeah, I think I heard 19.
Is that the number?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, they're playing pretty good baseball. I think they're in first place in the league.
First and third, 2 out.
Now that's ugly. What is he, 6'5", left-hander?
6'4".
Coming out of the sidearm angle like that.
It's 2-0. Ortiz is on deck. So a freshman at the plate and a freshman on deck. And a 6-3 Oklahoma State lead here in the bottom of the 7th.
Clock violation.
So it's 3-0.
And then he threw it, so that's 4-0, right?
Nice try.
Shot clock violation.
3-0 to Richie with first and third and 2 out here in the 7th. Interesting situation here. You have a left-hand hitter, a freshman who hits lefties and righties with equal success, and a right-hand batter on deck that's in a bit of a slump. It's a never foul, and the count is now full.
Well, you made your move to get this guy out, and it's obvious now. You can see why Minor fits this guy. I mean, it's a good percentage move. You're telling your ball club, hey, this game's not over. We're in this game. But he needs to get him out.
Runners will take off on the pitch. Richie fouls it away.
And if Richie knocks one in the gap, or even a bloop single to center field, it takes the wind out of their whole dugout. This is a momentum shift opportunity for OU.
Schubert will get a running start at first, so an extra base hit will almost certainly score him. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. And another pitch to Richie, and that's a walk, and the bases will be loaded with 2 out.
I like the way he just stood there and read the pitch. He didn't lunge at it, didn't overreact to it, got a good clean read on it, and it was, out of his hand, out of the zone real early. Now another opportunity for another rookie to... I keep thinking, all I can think of, Dave, is grow. I mean, because we haven't seen many freshmen play lately in the last couple of years. I mean, last year we saw Schubert come in and play a lot.
And Ortiz grounds out into left field. That's a base hit. Ben scores. Schubert hustling around third. The throw to the plate is cut off. Throw down to second, and safe at second. It's a 2-run single as Ortiz ends an 0 for 17 slump with a 2-run single to left.
Tell you what, that's good coaching. Leaving him in, let him have this opportunity. Now you just hope he scored before the throw went into second.
I think he did. Throw is down to second. Boy, how about Ortiz? First pitch, hitless in his previous 17 at-bats, and a 2-run single to left field. And Ortiz, who went 2 for 3 against the Sooners in Norman in the solo game at midweek back in March, delivers once again. Boy,
Well,
what a great moment for Ortiz, an Oklahoma kid out of Tulsa Union.
Plus, we haven't had one of these reversed yet, have we?
I don't think so.
So how many can you keep asking for? I mean, kind of like 0 for the night.
So it's 8-3 now, Oklahoma State. Here's another look at that play at second. I do believe the run scored first, regardless. Our first thought was he was safe.
Well, this will tell you. Ball in glove. Ooh, man, get it down. Get it down. 1,000 people happy if you leave it alone.
But how about that? Hitless in his last 17 at-bats. 2-run single with 2 out. Talk about growth.
That's how you grow, and that's why you want to play him as much as you can going down the stretch.
And safe at second. So it's 8-3 Oklahoma State. What a big, you said it, big at bat in the game.
And Josh keeps giving him that opportunity.
And it was confirmed. Runner Richie beat the cutoff throw back to second.
Well, the situational lefty's 0 for 2. And again, the first guy went 100 pitches and wore it for the club. You're at 8-3. This guy may just wear it for the rest of the night.
So when you are able to deliver key hits against a situational guy who is designed to prevent that, is that an extra boost? Because, like, hey, this guy's coming to deliver just 1 or 2 outs, and you get him.
And you know what? That's why, and that's how pinch hitters develop. So next time Ortiz is on the bench and somebody brings a left-hander in to face one of Josh's left-hand hitters, the temptation to go to Ortiz right away is going to be sitting there.
1-0 to Briggerman. That's in there, 1-1. Briggerman's 1 for 3 tonight. Had a single and scored a run in Oklahoma State's 4-run fifth.
Because, you know, developing pinch hitters is tough. That's when your bench is not real deep.
That's a chopper headed towards short. Throw to first, gets away. Ritchie comes home to score. Ortiz over to third, and it's a 9-3 Oklahoma State lead. We'll see how that's scored.
I think you have to consider eating that one right there. Bruggeman's not one of those, you know, burners. I think the first baseman's got to leave the bag and go get that. By letting the ball go by him cost him a run. And
that is scored, by the way, an infield single. However, the run scores on the throwing error. And Ortiz over to third with 2 out. All of the runs here have come with 2 out in the 7th, a 3-run 7th, and another pitching change coming up. 9-3 Oklahoma State. Cowboys have a 6-run lead here in the bottom of the 7th. In the 7th inning, they have not helped themselves. 2 errors, they've issued 8 walks, and they've hit a man.
Man, that's you got 9 runs on 6 hits.
Oklahoma has 3 runs on 8 hits. But on the other side, Cowboy pitchers have not issued. So there you see it. 2 errors.
Yeah.
Committed by Oklahoma, and they have walked, as I mentioned, 8 hitters, hit a guy. So there's the difference. Lane Forsythe with 2 out, runners at first and third. He looks at strike 1. Cowboys with 2 in the first. OU 1 in the 5th. Oklahoma State 4 runs in the 5th, highlighted by a 3-run double by Zach Earhart. Oklahoma single runs in the 6th and 7th. The Cowboys have come back with 3 in the 7th. Look at the numbers on Lotus.
2-1 strikes the walks. It's okay. 10 hits, 13 innings, that's okay. Like I said, all these 10, 12 inning relievers are all situational guys, and normally indicates good arms, not great stuff, but that was 94 mile an hour. Guess get a pop up.
But a 3-run open, and that's where we stand as Drew Blake takes over on the mound for Oklahoma State to start this 8th inning.
And Drew's one of the left-handers sitting in that bullpen down there that you might see someday wearing a big league uniform. He's got 90 to 95. He's got a good hard running slider. Maybe with the addition of Ryan Ure, who the last 2 Tuesdays has just come out and lit it up. This guy becomes maybe a 7th or 8th inning guy. Not situational, but just another one of those guys. Keeps the game in check. And tomorrow you use another left-hander and give him a day off and bring him back on Sunday. Kind of a great luxury thing to have. But
Drew Blake making his 14th appearance. Worked on Tuesday night, a 3rd of an inning against Oral Roberts. First pitch misses to Bryce Madron. Madron trying to keep his 8-game hitting streak alive. He's flown out 3 times.
And Drew's numbers are okay. I mean, not going to sit there and make you, it's not overwhelming. He's in a 4+ ERA. And the stuff is good enough to strike you out.
Look out. That gets away, and it's 2-2.
Another good idea. In this stadium, they put that big net up like that to protect the fans. That's big. That could have done a little damage.
Oh, that's helicoptering into the stands. And without the net is, if you're not paying attention, that's not good.
Madron's had a tough night. He's kind of one of their spark plugs.
Well, as I mentioned, this 8-game hitting streak in jeopardy, and he hammers that deep to center field. Earhart back to the track, back to the wall. It's over his head and off the wall for extra bases. Madron hustling around second. He'll be going to third. Throw comes in, not in time. Leadoff triple.
I think that ball hit the hitting eye. I think it hit the warning track, bounced up over the fence, hit the hitting eye, and came back in.
I think you're right, which makes it a ground rule double.
Bounce up.
Yes, it did. So he'll go back to second, but that extends his hitting streak to 9 games. Visit to the mound by Rob Walton. We'll see if Blake will face Michael Snyder, who's due up. It's Tommy Molsky in the bullpen. And we will have a pitching change. New pitcher for Oklahoma State, right-hander Tommy Molsky, and we'll tell you about him when we return. We're in the 8th. Oklahoma State leads Oklahoma 9-3 at O'Brien.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, with your home, auto, boat, and RV all bundled with Progressive, you've got the peace of mind to really wander.
Yeah, I just hope it stays this way. Once word gets out about these places, they tend to...
Are you done?
And there it is.
Well, at least your vehicles are protected. Let's hit the road.
Tommy Molsky.
Really impressive numbers. I mean, 18 in the third. 15 hits, 5-0. I mean, that transition around the 5th inning, Tommy's been there a bunch. Strikeouts to walks are good. A little too many walks. Most of them happened early, even though Tommy's a kind of a cold weather guy, being a Pennsylvania boy. And he's been up to 95, 96 mile an hour. And I think as he's matured, he's gotten better. He's a multi-pitch guy. He's kind of settled in as that, like that silencer. Come in and put this game away. Be no reason tonight with that score to have to use a closer.
Right, right.
You'd like to see, you know, Molsky's going to get you. Well, he's going to get you an inning, and then you're going to have that decision. But why would you use a closer with a 9-3 lead, even if it's 9-4? Again, you're trying to win a 3-game series. And every throw a guy makes counts on that arm count.
Molsky from tiny Dillsburg, Pennsylvania, population roughly 2,800. Got a surprise Wednesday when his brother called and said, "Hey, your mother and I are making his family has had the chance to watch him pitch here in Stillwater." Of course, he was at Penn State, much closer to home, obviously, as for his initial college baseball experience. And he told me yesterday he's enjoyed being here, and he has been effective, as Tom said. He will face Michael Snyder, who leads Oklahoma in RBIs here with nobody out. Madron at second after a leadoff ground rule double.
Wow. scoreboard says 97.
So about 95.
Yeah, the scoreboard's been accused of being a little juiced.
Yeah, it's a little hot.
So let's say 95.
Okay. 0-1.
That's a pretty good little slider right there. His location with his slider has been outstanding.
That's one thing he talked about yesterday, too. I was asking him, how have you improved? What leaps have you made? And he said, my slider is a lot sharper now than it used to be. It's 1-2.
Tommy, and because I had 2 summers with him in Cape Cod, kind of had that in-between thing. He was trying to throw a curve, trying to throw a slider. So he had a average curve, average slider.
Snyder lines that into right. Binge over. Records the first out. Madron tags. And he's over to third with 1 out.
And sometimes when you go back and try to rebuild one or the other, you'll make one of them really good. Then you just kind of give up on the other one. And, you know, in Tommy's role right now, his slider has been so good, his location on it, that now he can go back and start working on that curveball. But don't lose, when a pitch becomes a plus, don't lose it.
Yeah, he was also talking about, you know this a lot better than I do, but he's talking about how much he's refined his changeup too. Feels like that's been better.
And hard to use it much when you're in this role.
First pitch misses to Anthony McKenzie.
And there will come a time later in the season where he's not going to be a 1 or 2 inning guy. You know, you get into playoffs, conference tournaments, where guys got to go 3 or 4 innings if you're going to, unless you don't worry about the risk of running out of arms. Tommy can do that. He's been a starter his whole career.
That pitch gets away. Throw to the plate, not in time. On the wild pitch, Madron scores. It's 9-4. So if you're in well, take a look at this. Then I have a question for you. So, are there any situations where a short reliever can effectively use a changeup?
Yeah, if it's a right-hander to a left-hand hitter, you should use it. At least show it. Bend him over if you're going to try to throw the slider or fastball in. Sometimes guys like Tommy comes, and there's a right-hand hitter, you go straight to the bench for a left-hand hitter, show him the changeup, for sure. I just don't like relievers to try to pitch with 4 pitches, because then you're in the zone of making a mistake or hanging one.
That's grounded sharply to Forsythe. 2 away. Well, and it's not like you're worried about guys rolling through a second time to hit against you or a third time, right? So it's like, hey, let's just go with my best and get him out, right?
Yeah, you're not going to see me twice.
Yeah, so let's just let her rip. Two away. Kendall Pettis will hit. Base is empty. 9-4 Oklahoma State, top of the 8th. Sooners have scored in each of the last 4 innings, but still trail by 5. Oh, 2 to Pettis.
Now that's the get me over slider. He got away with that one. Now watch him throw this one, a ball to the outside corner, and he'll really finish it. Got underneath it a little bit. So he's seen a couple sliders back to back, right? He's looking slider. This is where you throw the fastball right by him.
Base is empty. 2 out in the 8th. 9-4 Oklahoma State. There's a 1-2.
You know, that's 2 feet outside. I'm thinking fastball. I think Pettis is thinking fastball. Because again, it was another slider, but he missed by a bunch. And that's
Count is full.
4 in a row. And you're sitting with a 5-run lead. And this is where that old saying, just don't walk them.
Pettis, 1 for 3 with a double and a run scored. He struck him out. We'll move to 9-4 Oklahoma State as we head to the bottom of the 8th. Easton Carmichael, Jackson Willits with solo home runs for the Sooners. Nolan Schubert, a 2-run homer with 2 out in the first, got the Cowboys started. Zach Earhart with the big bases loaded 3-run double as part of a 4-run Cowboy 5th. Aiden Miola also with an RBI double in that 5th inning. The Cowboys then added 3 runs in the 7th, and that's where we are. 9-4 Cowboys, bottom 8. 9-hole hitter Ian Doherty, the Cowboy catcher, will lead things off. 0 for 2 with a sacrifice bunt as part of that 5th inning. Helped move that rally along. Chops the delivery from Jet Lotus, foul.
A 92-mile-an-hour sinker. Pretty good-looking pitch. Got around that slider for a strike. What you want right here, Dave, is you want this game to go quietly into the night. You want to get it over with. If you're OU, you don't want anybody else in that bullpen to touch a ball. Have a good inning right here. Try to rebuild some momentum going into tomorrow. Find something positive to talk about. Well, they out-hit Oklahoma State tonight, but boy, the walks and the rest of it hasn't been real pretty.
And 2 errors. In fact, the Sooners now have walked 8, hit 1, and 2 errors as well. Now tomorrow, Oklahoma State has the luxury, if you will, of having Ryan Holiday on the mound. It's a 1.75 ERA. He's been terrific in the Saturday starting role for the Cowboys. Doherty pops that up. Wynn might keep that in play over to the right side, and it's out of play. One ball, 2 strikes to Doherty leading off the 8th. And it's 2-2. Count goes full to Ian Doherty. He's been sharing the catching duties with the freshman Charlie Carter.
Yeah, they've done a great job. I mean,
called strike 3, 1 away.
I'd have to say that losing my catcher in the 4th game of the year would be devastating. If that got the inside part of the plate. Sometimes umpires don't like to ring up catchers. They kind of become buds over a span of 9 innings, but Chris got him on that one.
Carson Benj has walked twice, has been hit by pitch, scored a couple of runs, struck out in the first. 1-1 to Binge.
Now you start thinking about stuff like, does OU go back to Norman tonight?
Yeah, with the,
No, it's an hour and 10 minutes, right?
yeah, and you were telling me that they commute back and forth. Is that correct?
Well,
I
That's what I
have not
understood.
confirmed
I mean,
that, though. I don't know if that's true.
maybe they stay in Guthrie. You know, maybe it's just.
Well, the start time for tomorrow's game moved up from 6 to 2 because of the threat of storms in this area tomorrow night. So regardless, it's a short night for everybody.
Yep. Yes, it is. And then tomorrow night, you know, they get their rest with the afternoon game on Sunday.
So how much does the quality of Game 3 improve, if at all, when you go Saturday afternoon versus Saturday night?
I think it makes it a better game.
It does make it a better game?
I do.
I
yeah.
assumed it would.
And if you're going to go anywhere in the postseason, you got to learn to play Game 3. I mean, it's a critical game. It's what you're going to have to win in conference and NCAA tournaments. And some guys, they don't worry about conference tournaments, but you still got to play them like it's a regional.
And Binge walks for the third time. He'll be at first with one out. That's the 9th walk issued by Oklahoma pitchers.
And I think that some of the teams around the country that are ranked real high, people have done that with them because their top 3 starters look like the best top 3 in the country. There's a lot of people who have good 1-2 punches. It's that third guy that sells people.
Earhart with the big 3-run double in that 4-run Cowboy 5th. Turned a 2-1 game into a 6-1 game.
That's their little cutter. He's kind of cutting it right at their hands, and it's getting just enough of the plate that they're making the home plate umpire have to work.
Record O'Brate Stadium crowd of more than 8,000 on hand here tonight. Atmosphere has been off the charts. It's fouled away, right side. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now, this is the type of game that this ballpark was built for.
My little next door neighbor right there. Well, I know, you know, sometimes you just sound like a broken record. Is this not what you want baseball to be?
Of course it is.
And think about how hard it is to play in February. It's expensive because you got to go on the road.
Yes.
And right now, Major League Baseball starts up. You can't help it starting to get in a mood. The little leaguers are playing night games, you know. I mean, everybody's in a baseball mood. Let college baseball run to the 1st of July.
And the count is full.
Then you'd have 10 days before the draft to get ready for it. Let the college baseball player play in the good weather.
Binge at first with 1 out. He takes off on the payoff pitch, and that is foul toward the OU dugout.
Let's do the math. How much money you make on a night like this?
Oh.
Just, it's a simple math thing. I mean, and if you want baseball to become a revenue producer, which everything I hear, everybody wants sports to be more revenue producing. And with everything going up and play in February, guys, people buy season tickets. I get it. But here they show up. They buy the hot dog. They buy the beer. Whoa. You almost got him a pitcher right there.
So Earhart is called out on strikes, and Binge with his 2nd stolen base of the night.
Strike. It's a good pitch. And he's safe at 2nd, even though we got a fumble. Dan Benji broke another belt. That's 2 tonight.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's 2 belts.
So Benj at second, 2 out for Aiden Miola. And an RBI double in that 4-run 5th. Doesn't appear to be anyone working in the Oklahoma State bullpen, so it looks like it's Tommy Molsky's game to finish.
I would think, but I've already seen Benj kind of dash down there, and
okay.
No reason for that, Dave. No, by the way, I mean, and the guy's still out here stealing bases and stuff. I mean, I tell those guys down there to just sit there and relax.
Oh, and that's hammered, but foul by Miola.
Just a little early.
That's hammered deep to right field. Back to the track, back to the wall, and it's caught by Madron up against the wall for out number 3 here in the 8th. Headed to the 9th in Stillwater. And a change at catcher as well as freshman Charlie Carter will replace Ian Doherty. So Molsky retired the last 3 OU hitters in the 8th. In there to Willits.
And I think when we asked the question on pitching rotation with OU, I think Skip's answer was Davis and then TBA and TBA. That's out of here.
Deep to right field. Back to the track and gone.
Well, the rookies had a 2-home run night tonight.
That's the 3rd home run for Oklahoma, and it's a 9-5 game in the 9th.
You know, it looked like a changeup to me, Dave. Kind of had a little drag and fade in it.
Butler looks at ball 1 outside. Oklahoma's out hit the Cowboys 10-6, but they trail 9-5. 1-1.
Isn't it funny? It just doesn't really matter.
Well, when you issue 9 walks, make 2 errors, and hit a batter.
I'll tell you what, Dave, 9 walks, man, if you're the pitching coach, that is a nightmare. Because your mind runs crazy.
Well, they've had some quality at bats. I mean, I thought, didn't you?
Yeah. But when you get 9 walks, your mind wonders. It's like, are we afraid to throw strikes? Are we afraid of their hitters? What are we doing walking people? And
how much does that affect you offensively, or does it? Do you have to just say, whatever, we got to go do our job?
Sometimes it'll split. You know, you'll get somebody in the clubhouse will pop off a little bit, you know, and say, hey, man, you guys just let them hit it. We'll catch it. And I mean, if it goes any more than that, you end up with an issue. But I mean, the name of this game is to outscore your opponent. And anybody that knows the game will tell you, if you're going to score 8, 9, 10 runs, you've got to have walks. walks and hit batsmen and errors. They always aid in a big score.
And Kroll records the first out. Well, that's, I was following the game Saturday at West Virginia, and I always think about the things you say. Oklahoma State, by the way, in that second game of the West Virginia series, went to the 11th, tied at 1, and then the Cowboys scored 9 times. So my first thought was, as I didn't see it live, looking at the computer, what does Tom always say? Walks, wild pitches, hit batsman errors, big innings, that's what happens. That's lined out to left, and Kroll hustling, makes a play. There's 2 away.
And that's why good hitting instructors want you to be patient. They want you to be selective. Boy, does it not always find you. Isn't that amazing? You bring 2 guys in the 9th inning for defensive reasons, and there's a line drive, and this guy makes it look easy. Of course, he's a really, really good outfielder. He's the epitome of a 4th outfielder. You get Tommy Molsky off the mound tonight with 25 pitches, and you're rolling back Sunday.
0-1 to Jackson Nicklaus.
I mean, inside his makeup, Tommy Molsky's mad about that home run ball. And you wouldn't want him to be any other way. I mean, you protect that scoreboard as much as you can.
Oh, 2 to Nicklaus.
Nice job by the catcher. That would have been easy to Ole right there, but instead he blocks it. And well, you talk about a guy getting a lot of experience for a freshman.
Base is empty, 2 out.
That's a setup pitch. He wanted it up. Now you're going to come back in with a hard slider in.
That's out to deep left. Kroll back to the track, back to the wall. He leaps, and it's gone. Home run for Jackson Nicklaus, number 6 of the year. It's a 9-6 game.
Yeah, well, that ball kind of ran right into his barrel, and as much as I've seen Tommy pitch, I'm thinking slider in right here for a strikeout, and he throws that fastball that just got him right where he wanted it, and that little friendly, 8 or 10 mile an hour wind right there, that's where it makes a difference in that corner out there. But again, it's a 1-pitch rally. It doesn't mean anything. Just keep throwing strikes.
Home runs by Willits and Nicklaus here in the 9th, but still a 3-run lead with 2 out. It's 0-1 to Easton Carmichael, who hit a solo homer in the 6th and singled in the 1st. And, the reality is this: when you don't walk people, those home runs don't hurt you much. When you hit 4 solo home runs, doesn't do much.
That's right. It's a 1-pitch rally.
Kind of a strange game, as you said.
Yeah, for a Bedlam game, you like to see it go down to the last pitch and everybody be on their feet.
It's 1-2 to Carmichael. Sooners are down to their final strike.
I think both ball clubs know that this is about pitching, this series. So you're going to see some runs scored. And this park, this time of the year, there's going to be some balls hit out.
He struck him out, and Oklahoma State claims the first game of the Bedlam series, 9-6 over Oklahoma.
And right now your mind's on game 2 and the guys you didn't have to use tonight. So Tommy Molsky, 2 home run balls in the 9th inning, big deal. Now the game is on.
So it sets the stage for game 2 tomorrow, and the Cowboys will have their ace, Brian Holiday, on the mound tomorrow afternoon at 2 for game 2 of this Bedlam series against the Sooners. Again, in case you missed it,